Hello and welcome to HR Talk, People Management's regular discussion about the topics making the news in the HR world. I'm Michelle Stevens and this week we'll be discussing the latest resourcing and talent planning survey conducted by the CIPD in Hayes. I'm joined by Claire McCartney from the CIPD and Julie Waddicor of Hayes Human Resources to discuss the research. Claire, the study shows that employers looking to recruit and finding themselves weighed down by a huge number of unsuitable applications, yet often still struggling to find the right person. Why is this and what does it tell us about the labour market?
Yeah, I think it's interesting actually this year that recruitment activity has actually decreased and the number of vacancies has decreased, but actually recruitment difficulties have increased. And the top reason for recruitment difficulties is a lack of specialist and technical skills. So even though there are more people in the labour market, they're not actually the people that organisations are particularly wanting with those specialist skills. I think often the people with those skills are staying put because of the uncertain economic climate. I think another reason for the increase in unsuitable candidates is something that Julie and I have both noticed, is a trend for an increasing specialist roles and also niche roles. So therefore there are more unsuitable candidates. And then the third thing I'd probably flag up is just because there are fewer jobs out there in the labour market, it means that there are going to be many more speculative inquiries by candidates which don't necessarily meet up to their skills and experience, again increasing the number of unsuitable candidates.
Julie, what can employers do to tackle this problem?
Quite a lot actually. I think first of all an employer really needs to think about the skills, experience and competencies that are required for a particular role. I think that a clear person and job specification needs to be written. And also think very carefully about the if you're going to advertise a role, where you're going to advertise it, whether that be on or offline, in order to both reach and attract your target marketplace. The second point I would make is, and this is a very important one, is to have a really clear time frame and salary and benefits package. And the reason for that is that you won't lose candidates during the process because you're taking too long, and also at the end of the process you won't lose them because you've offered a package that's uncompetitive. In addition to that, I think when you actually come to the interview, that you that your interviewer is very clear on what the questions are to identify the right candidates and to filter out the ones that aren't so relevant, and also that the candidate as well has enough information to decide if that's the right job for them, so whether that be structure, training and development plans, or responsibilities, progression, that type of thing, so that they'll know if it's the right job for them. And finally, to make sure that you have got a good system in place to reject candidates that aren't suitable for the role quickly, so that that doesn't clog up and slow down your interview process.
Claire, the research also found that resourcing budgets are still very stretched. What innovative methods are employers using to fill their skill gaps in a more cost-effective way?
I think what we've noticed this year in particular is the increase in the number of organisations that are developing talent in-house and also focusing on talent retention. So they're saying perhaps if we can't find the external candidates in the external marketplace, let's try and grow our own. And they're doing that through talent development programmes and internal knowledge transfer. And I think the other thing that we're recognising from the survey this year is that employers are seeing a mismatch between education and actually the needs of business. So we're seeing an increase in the number who are considering apprenticeship schemes, internship schemes, and this is particularly high within the manufacturing and production sector.
From a recruitment agency's perspective, what trends have you noticed, Julie?
Okay, Hayes has certainly noticed that organisations are obviously trying to be as cost effective as possible in their recruitment solutions, and what we're trying to do is to build much closer and stronger partnerships with businesses and with our clients. This obviously helps them to manage their costs by not having multiple suppliers, and also it saves time too. If your recruitment partner understands the culture and the challenges of your organisation, then you'll find that the shortlist is far more accurate and that your interview to offer ratio is much improved. In addition to that, a lot of organisations we've found are looking at recruiting smart temporary or interim staff in order to fill projects. This then doesn't add to their permanent headcount. And finally, you really need to make sure that your recruitment process is robust and is well thought out, so that you're not wasting management time. You're not training and developing people who are not suitable for the job, and that you're not then having to plug gaps when those people don't work out.
Employee turnover rates are still very low. Claire, does this mean that employers have succeeded in hanging on to their talents, or is retention still a challenge in this environment?
I would say that retention is always a challenge, whatever environment that you're in. But I think that the low employee turnover rates coming through from the survey do suggest that people are staying put for the time being at least. But organisations can't afford to be complacent about that. We know that recruitment activity is picking up at least within the private sector. So organisations do need to think about motivating and engaging talent as much as they can. I think the other thing to think about is how employees feel as a result of the economic situation. Organisations might have had to implement redundancies or downsizing. What effect has that had upon employees? We know that with our CIPD Employee Outlook survey, there has been a noticeable decrease in trust levels. So this is another area where organisations really need to focus upon. But I suppose just to sum up, really, we've been talking about skill shortages, and those people and those talent that are able to fill those skill shortages will always be desirable in the labour market. So not an area that organisations can stop sort of looking at and working on.
So, Julie, is the war for talent back, or did it ever go away?
It probably never completely went away, to be perfectly honest. And yes, it definitely is alive and kicking today. We see it in specialist niche markets and specialist skills in areas, IT, energy, finance, to name a few. But those areas definitely are, there's a real war for talent for individuals in those markets. And in my view, it's actually not just a case of employers recognising where those gaps are, but thinking ahead as to how they are going to engage with younger people coming through, so that they'll know what those gaps are and the skills that they're going to require in the future, and that they start to put some effort into how they support and sponsor young people in order to train them to fill those roles in the future.
Julie, Claire, thank you both for joining me today.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
That's all for this week, but keep up to date with the latest HR news at www.peoplemanagement.co.uk. Until next time, take care.